Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
Hi, Rob Brown here with you on this Friday morning, broadcasting live all over the place. Check us out on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@sidelines_live. Got a great lineup today. Be with you for the next couple of hours. Talking college football right now. We will be getting into basketball here very soon because they're already starting to practice. Midnight madnesses are going on everywhere. But a lot to cover today. We're going to go up to Nashville. Start off with Chris Lee of the Southeastern 14. He'll join us. Second segment, going to have Dana Marquez doing all kinds of innovative stuff. A former director of equipment operations in Auburn, and they are doing stuff to make it the game safer. It's going to be physical. There's no way around that. But they're making advances in helmets, sideline medical care. It is changing every sport out there. Hour number 2, we'll be joined by Andy Camp Lee. Is going to check in, rumbleboxinggym.com in Memphis. Tell us what's going on over there. We'll be having the Texas duo, Ken Capps Football Writers Association from out in Dallas. And Bo Carter will check in, formerly with Big 12 office, now National Football Foundation and Baseball Writers of America. And love to get the take that these guys have. And Dr. Bill Hargraves will join us in the second hour, president of the University of Memphis, talking about what they're doing in Memphis. And we're going to get Ken and Bo to give their input on how it's working out with SMU becoming the team in Dallas. I think they call it the 214 or whatever, something with the area code. I think Reggie Bush started all that stuff, putting his area code on him, and it's effective branding. I can tell you that. 300 plus shows a year, 25 a month. We do a lot, and we bring on the best guests, even the guys, the great dads who are taking time away from fall break. Caught you yesterday hiking the Appalachian Trail or somewhere where y'all were. But no, he's in the studio right now. But Chris Lee, Southeastern 14, and Rivals Vandy site. So, Chris, thanks for taking time to join us. Lot to cover. It's another great weekend. It's already week 7, but we still got at least 3 months of college football to go. So we got a lot to talk about. I'll let you take over.
Yeah, it gets interesting. You've got, in the SEC alone, you've got 3 games that are basically pick-ems, if they're on a neutral field somewhere. So that's interesting. You got Washington, Oregon. You got other games on the national landscape that make it interesting. I mean, there's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching this time of the year, not just in the SEC, but out of it, because I think this college football playoff chase is really fascinating.
It is. A lot of questions already, coming in. People know who's going to be on here. So I'll get right to it. The 4-team playoff right now, give me your top 4.
You mean if the season ended today, or who I think it's going to be?
Just who you think you're going to end up being in there.
Oh,
at the
man.
moment, based on everything you've seen so far.
Man, we went through this exercise on my show this week, and I think I hemmed and hawed and circled the runway about 14 times. And I don't, and that's because it is hard to figure out. I think ultimately I went with Georgia, Florida State, Oklahoma, and Michigan, which leaves the Pac-12 out of it. And I think that's probably the best conference out there this year. I know that's blasphemy in these parts of the world, but I think it might also be true. I don't know. I mean, if I get those right, I'll promise you it'll be mostly luck, because I just think what's coming is going to be. I mean, I've looked at it. I've got this sheet in front of me with who everybody's beaten and who they've played, and I think I could look at it 100 times and still not give you an answer that I'm confident in. But to me, that's what makes it fun.
Oh yeah, no, it really does. And I think, Chris, I was asked on a show down in Jackson, Mississippi earlier this week, and I said my top 4 were Michigan, Florida State, Oklahoma, and Alabama. And I realized I left Georgia off. And so Jake Wimberly was on the show Wednesday, and I said, well, that's because I know it sounds crazy, but I'm not going to be surprised, and I believe Alabama will win the SEC championship. They're starting to look a lot like 15 and 16. It's similar, but they're averaging about 14, 17 points a game less than they did then. But you're right. You know what? I think you said it, and I've just said it. There's a ton of interest in college football right now because there's no elite team or two out there.
Yeah. Well, look, the problem for Alabama is it is averaging. Let me double check this. Less than 6 yards a snap, 5.8. That is generally not going to get you championship football. Now it's a work in progress. And look, if you said Alabama's in there, I wouldn't tell you you're an idiot. I think Alabama is one of my preseason picks.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, I think it's almost to the point of, are you undefeated? I mean, this is not rocket science, but are you undefeated and what landmines are in your way?
Yeah.
And the interesting thing to me is the computers don't really like Florida State as much as I've liked them when I've seen them play. And maybe I've seen the times when they've looked good and not the times when they've looked bad, but I'm looking at 5 computers in front of me that I like, and one of them's got them in the top 10. Well, wait a minute. Let me make sure I've got the right line here. No, none of them have them in the top 10. All of them got them between 10 and 15. Take that for what it's worth. The margins sometimes aren't very close. They banked wins at Clemson, LSU neutral. So if you're looking at resume, they're in a good spot. And I look down and, okay, who's going to beat them, right? They're going to be favored, I think, in every game they've got left. Probably the closest to in terms of a match on a neutral field will be Duke and Miami. Those are both in Tallahassee. They play Florida at the end of the season in Gainesville, but I don't think Florida's got the offense to keep up with them. They got Syracuse this week at Wake. That's not the game it used to be. To me, I think Florida State's kind of got to be one of those. I think, to me, Georgia is the next easiest answer. Maybe the easiest answer, because I think what I saw them out of Kentucky was just looked to me a lot like vintage Georgia.
Yeah.
And the toughest game left they've got is at Tennessee. I don't really think we know what Tennessee is yet for sure, because Tennessee's played one of the weakest schedules of anybody in the Power 5 so far. I think Tennessee's good, but it's a thought. It's not something that I can back up with a lot of results yet, because the one tough game they played, really tough game, they got, I mean, I don't even know what you call Florida. They got beat. They haven't played a top 25 level team yet, and Georgia's going to be a different level, but that's in Knoxville, so you just don't know. And Tennessee may show up the next couple of weekends and be vintage top 10 to Tennessee. We'll see. But to me, I think when you have the discussion, you're probably starting at those two, just because I look down the path of what's ahead and consider they don't have a loss. And those are probably two of the easier ones to pick, relatively speaking.
Yeah. And you think about this, there's no guarantees. I mean, you're wearing your Braves hat. I've got my Braves cup that Billy gave me from Auburn night. You know, I got to ask you this, because you're a baseball guy too. Billy Roberts is on the show a lot with us. Lives over in Brookhaven, right next to Atlanta. I think he said he literally had watched almost every single game this year. He's a Bravesologist like you are.
Yeah.
He made a point this week. I said, what is happening? He said, look, the format in Major League Baseball, it basically, as crazy as it sounds, it penalizes the best teams, because those hot bats have to sit for a week, and it allowed the Phillies to play the Brewers, stay hot. And I mean, look at the Dodgers. They won 100 plus games. The Braves won 100. Doesn't that sound crazy? But it looks like Billy's right. Do you agree?
I think they need to do something to bump the home field advantage more towards the teams that earn it. Some of it's just bad luck, dumb luck, whatever you want to call it. But I do think that, and Ender Inciarte had a tweet last night that I thought summed it up pretty well. He said, this is like when you come off the IL and it takes you a long time to get your rhythm back. He said, that's what this playoff bye or this playoff sit out is like. Now, I know the Braves had a scrimmage or two to get prepared or whatever. it didn't work very well, obviously. But I don't know. It seems like it's the other thing too is it seemed to me like it kind of seems to me like when you are going through this, I don't like I kind of feel like, and maybe this hurts ticket sales. Like if you win that best of 3 round, you ought to be flying out to somebody's ballpark the next day.
Yeah.
Not having a couple days to reset your pitching from the top and all those things. Now, look, and I don't like the days off in between either. I didn't think there needed to be 2 days off out of 5. In this case, that sort of helped the Braves a little bit to go through Strider and Fried twice. Whereas if you've not got 2 days off, you probably don't get to Strider last night, or at least you don't get to Fried in the potential game 5. So, yeah, I think something is flawed. It may be as much with the days off. Maybe you give that team every game in the home park. I don't know. Something's got to be done. I think something can be done. We're not putting men on the moon. These guys travel from one city to the next without a day off during the regular season. To me, there needs to be something along those lines to minimize the stagnation for the team that's sitting there waiting, and to not help the team that is playing get to take a breath and reset things.
Yeah, and it's the same thing in football when you got an up-tempo, hurry-up, no-huddle offense, and these teams start faking injuries to slow the tempo down. And then halftime always is a buzzkill, especially if you're rolling. And the one thing I think they can do to stop the fake injuries in college football, the fainting goats, we call them, is, okay, that player goes down, he's out for the rest of that series. Well, you're hurt. You're out. It's going to be interesting. Dana Marquez is going to be on with us in the next segment, and stay on if you can, but because he's the former director of equipment operations at Auburn from 2005 through this summer, and he stepped down. He's still, working there and helping Auburn, but he's got multiple companies he started. One of them is helmetfitting.com, and he's going to talk about some of the new stuff they have on the sidelines, literally handheld, that normally you'd have to rush somebody to a hospital to get these kind of x-rays. It is cutting edge stuff, but it's Braves, the Braves country footprint and Cardinal Nation, the kind of the bookends of our audience. Of course, with the web, as you know, with your show, we're everywhere. But yeah, it's frustrating, very frustrating. But man, the 162 games, yeah, you're right. They should be rewarded. Let's take this. Colin in Destin, Florida. We don't take calls. We just take questions. They type in here. But what happened to Devin O'Leary when he arrived at UK? He's averaging about 205 yards in conference games, but he's only completing 55%. That's next to the last in the SEC. What happened? And Liam Cohen's back. Can you make some sense out of that?
And this is 100% speculation. I have nothing to back this up, but what was it, a pectoral injury he had last year? They ended his season at NC State. I think it was. Had surgery. Okay. I could be wrong. I wonder if the kid. I have not done any research on how those things heal or don't heal, how long it takes. But when you see a guy's performance drop off that much, and it's not like he's playing for an idiot in Liam Cohen. I mean, Liam Cohen did some fantastic things before. All of a sudden they can block guys this year. He's got receivers. I don't know. It doesn't add up to me, which tells me, there's a reason for everything. I don't know if he's pressing, if it's just, it takes you a while. Like to leave off from where we were with the Braves last year. Ronald Acuna, first year back from the ACL. Nothing like the player in 2022 that he was in 2023. I don't know if Devin Leary is going through something like that.
Okay.
Again, I'm not reporting. I have no knowledge on that. But when I watch a guy with a performance now is so far off what it was, you wonder.
Yeah. Well, that's why I want you, if you can, I know you got a lot going on, but to stay on. I've known Dana a long time, and the performance, what they're doing with football helmets and everything, and then Carbon Tech shoulder pads. That's another company that he's started. And it's interesting. You talk about a pectoral muscle or a torn labrum. Again, I'd never went to medical school, but we know these injuries. And a torn labrum, something like that, is really, really painful. Liam Cohen is an elite coordinator. Here's another one on here I want to get to. Larry in Memphis. Vandy needs to decide they want to be in football what they are in baseball. You're the one. No one's ever said this on this show before. It was you, of you and George Plaster on now. I'm so glad to have the Nashville connection because the Mids, there's so much going on up there. The Titans, you name it, the Sounds. But Vandy baseball is a national elite program. They probably played for the national championship 4 or 5 times the last decade.
4.
Okay. So in football, they've got money. There's players all over that area. What do you think about a question like this, and how do you sort of interpret where he's coming from?
Well, Tim Corbin did a pretty good job of separating his baseball program from the athletic department and making it an island into himself. I think football, if it can find something like that, it's a lot more difficult in football because in baseball, the kids that you get are easier to get. Well, I mean, even for them, like the transfer market has changed things in baseball. It's hard for them to get transfers in. Just because of the hours requirements at Vanderbilt, you've got to get your last 60 hours at the school. So let's say you come in and you're 3.5 years into your college program of study somewhere else, you're going to lose a year to year and a half of credits. Now, if you want to hang around and you redshirted a year and you're not in a hurry to the NFL, which most people at Vandy aren't, maybe that works. But I think that's one factor. But even for Tim Corbin, it's tough to get transfers in. And, of course, they're a bigger part of things than he used to be. So I think the playing field is leveled a little bit, or in a bad way for them, I guess. Leveled's not the right word. I think playing field has changed from what was already a difficult position. I had somebody on my show this week that said he thinks they need more academic exceptions for football. James Franklin had those. Unfortunately for Vanderbilt, when they had the Brandon Vanderberg case of the rape of a student, what happened was a couple other guys that were involved in that were, I think, some of the exceptions they'd had. The school at that point said, hey, we're rolling all these back. You're not going to get any of those anymore. And so I think that the academic requirements for football are stiffer than they were when James Franklin had his run. So I think there's a lot of factors to it, but I think that's something that might be worth a closer look.
Yeah, because we all know about the money. I know when I first started selling bonds back in the fall of 91, I sold as many as I could get my hands on Vanderbilt Medical Center. I used to take a buddy of mine who was an emergency room trauma surgeon at Vandy Medical Center. He said, Rob, you wouldn't believe how many stupid people there are during hunting season that come in here that flip their four-wheelers. And he saw everything, but that is an elite medical center. They medevac people from all over Central. I mean, it has got so much goodwill just from that hospital, and the law school, and isn't it the Owen College of Business? Because that's, my friend Bill and Sheila James' son, Christian, he's got a degree from there already. I think he's working on a master's. I mean, here's the good deal. We talk about NIL, Chris. You graduate from Vanderbilt. You forget, NIL is like a drop in the bucket to what that's going to do. That's that's just my take on it.
Well, yeah, but high school kids are not thinking like that. They're thinking, how do we win games? How do I get to the NFL? And Vanderbilt's answers there have not been very good. Look,
I agree with you.
You're right. I mean, there's, and I've said this too till I've been blue in the face. There's enough money there that Vanderbilt decided we're going to fix this. It could. Right now, they're directing, I think, most of their asks towards paying for the facilities, which they've committed to build, which is getting them caught up to where everybody else was 15 years ago. And then the game has changed. But the problem is that Vanderbilt, the attitude has always been, you win games and then we'll support this. I think that goes with the boosters. I think right now it's also hard to win when you're 2-5 and haven't looked very good in the 5 that you lost. People want to know that they're giving towards something where they're going to have a return. And I think right now, and I like Clark Lee a lot. I don't think this is all his fault, but I think their performance has been so bad it's making that ask harder for them for NIL because they've got almost nothing.
Well, you sit there and you think about all these SEC schools. They all have money. And when Texas and Oklahoma come in, isn't it crazy to think $80 to $100 million? Go back 15 years ago. Athletic budgets at Ole Miss and Mississippi State were not above $50 million.
Yeah.
Now they're getting $50 million just from the SEC office. And we went into the virus. You remember the draconian predictions of gloom and doom, February and March of 2020. And I told one of these national writers on the show, I said, I don't care what we got to do. If it shorts every cannibal on the Congo, we're going to have football in the South. He thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
Wasn't just me. It was Jimmy, was with me. And we were talking. I said, we're going to find a way to do it. It's not that we don't care about people's safety and all, but the worst thing you can do is shut a country down, send people home, lock the doors, go home, and go broke safely alone. And that's why all the predictions about people won't go back to the games. Yes, they will. Humans are social animals. You can do a game or two in your man cave, but you get sore, literally. My wife had stomach bug over the weekend for 3 days. Her back still hurts from just being bedridden. Think about the all-time bedridden family. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original one, when he went back there and your grandpa hasn't been out of that bed in 20 years. Like, good God, 4 people in that bed. But when he saw a chance to get that golden ticket, man, he got up. So maybe just show people a golden ticket. But it's just, I don't know. People want to be at the games. It doesn't matter, in Nashville, wherever you are. I mean, everybody knows Nashville's an awesome town. The only letdown of media days was it rained out the concert we were supposed to have Tuesday night on Broadway. And I got to ask you, you're a lifelong Nashvilleian and living in Memphis. We were supposed to be in Knoxville this weekend, but I've got to be here for something for business. I can't go, but that's a hot town. Everybody wants to be there. Nothing against Atlanta, but do you want to be 6.5 million people over 22 counties? I mean, what's going on up there? Because it's attractive for people to come there.
Yeah. Speaking as the guy who has to drive from Franklin to games and press conferences. No, I don't want it to be that. I turn on my Maps app every time I'm going to Nashville, even though it's only a 25-minute drive at mostly just because you just never know where there's going to be a wreck and you're going to be tied up and you're going to need a route to get somewhere else. I mean, that's kind of where we are. I mean, I drive on Sundays now. Sometimes I'll go see my parents on the north side of, or just north of here in Hendersonville. And that's, probably a little bit of an hour, probably an hour's drive, a little bit less. But yes, it's, there's standstill traffic on the interstate on the middle of a Sunday afternoon when the Titans aren't there anymore at times. That used to never happen 10 years ago, probably not even 5 years ago. Yeah.
Well, we were at media days. We went up to Clarksville on the way in Sunday, dropped off our dog at mother-in-law's and then got to the hotel, found out when we were leaving Thursday, oh yeah, dogs are welcome. So we went talk about some traffic coming in from Clarksville. That's only 46 minutes. And Audrey used to live in Atlanta for about 10 years. An hour and a half commute to work sometimes that's just the way it is. But, my in-laws from my first marriage live in Franklin out there, in Fieldstone Farms. Beautiful. God, it's gorgeous out there. And that Publix, to this day, I love them because when the kids were hungry, the go-to place was the deli there with the chicken tenders and that mac and cheese. It's so good.
Yeah.
But Nashville's a place people want to be. And Memphis has lost a lot of its people to there, but we're going to have Dr. Bill Hargraves on the second hour from the University of Memphis. And I know him from Auburn, former dean of the College of Business. But you got to have an attractive city to pull people into. And it's hard. You got to have a lot of people pulling for you. Duncan in Franklin, Tennessee, the SEC is missing elite offensive linemen. I'm going to piggyback on that. Is that maybe why we don't have great quarterback play? Because we all think of Sam Pittman as an offensive line, Einstein. And this year, it's a mess. Let's talk about that. Getting a lot of comments. People say, you need to have Chris Lee on more often. I'm just lucky I sat down at lunch with you and George Plaster. The whole Nashville crowd And thank you so much for taking time out of your fall break to join us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you for the kind words from you and your audience. To your question, that got me to thinking, because usually, and I think last year, would the NFL have one or two offensive tackles selected in the top 10? You had the kid at Tennessee whose name is escaping me. You had Charlie Cross from Mississippi State, or was that the year before? Alabama's always getting left tackles picked first round. And I'm looking through. This is a mock draft for SI, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. And so I look down, and the first offensive lineman in the league is J.C. Latham at Alabama from the SEC to get picked at 11 to the Jets. This is on an SI mock draft. No, look, I think that mock drafts this far ahead of time are a little bit silly. They'll change, but take it for what it's worth. But I mean, I don't think J.C. Latham's had a great year. Probably the other guy that you're thinking about just off the top of my head in terms of talented offensive linemen that have got an NFL future. You left tackle at LSU, Will Campbell comes to mind, but I think he's still another year away, and I think they've had some issues at times. I'm scrolling down through the first round. I don't see another SEC defensive lineman in here. I'll say a bunch of Alabama defenders. And again, this is one mock draft. Okay, you get to Marius Mims to the Dolphins at 29. He's been hurt.
Yeah.
And again, I'm doing this not to necessarily endorse this, but just to make sure I'm not forgetting any names here. But for whatever it's worth, there's not a huge presence of offensive linemen in this 2-round mock draft that I pulled up just to check my facts. And so point being, maybe he's onto something here.
Yeah, it is. If you can, hold on. We're going to take a quick break from one of our sponsors and then come right back. I see Dana Marquez is ready to join us. And I want to get into this discussion because I know Dana probably is like going, if I was still doing my job, what I did at Auburn for the previous 18 years, I would have left Wednesday, probably my team, to get down to Baton Rouge. And you talk about the logistics, but yeah, I think the offensive linemen, we're just missing them. And I don't know if it's 7-on-7 camps or what, but it's a great topic. Let's take a quick commercial break. Sidelines, be right back with more.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I'm Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
All right, Rob Brown back here with you in the spring. Dana Marquez. Dana, this is Chris Lee, Southeast 14 Bandy Rivals site up in Nashville. And we've been talking a lot of, obviously, college football in this first part. And I mentioned your background, when you came to Auburn, back in 2005 from the 49ers, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when you came, your job, I guess they said, take this and run with it, do whatever you want. And what's going on in college football? We were just talking about, that's a question from one of the listeners or viewers, whatever, about offensive linemen. In your position, you have seen, over the years, college football change. Every athlete, 21 sports, you had 34 managers working with you. But let's focus just, I guess, on football. What are the biggest changes you've seen? And so many NFL players that will, some of them will even drop by and see you at the complex in the years. But what have you seen change the most in football, the good, the bad, and everything in between?
Well, hey, thank you for having me on today. What's the biggest change, right? In my world, it's equipment, strictly. You think about where we were 10 years ago to where we're at today. Back in the day when everybody played, we were playing with air helmets, right? Or we're putting pads in there and pumping everything up. And and the players probably weren't as big and focused on day-to-day football. They had other opportunities to go play baseball, track, basketball, so on and so forth in high school. I think the attention to detail to what this sport is now is just grown immensely. I think for me, it's 100% about safety. It's about 3D mapping, digital imaging. The new word that's out there, I think that the biggest shift is probably the word sports performance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean? And, for us, so my wife and I have kind of got on this mission in the last 4 months to try to figure out what sports performance meant. And I think this is really what's changed. Sports performance is strength and conditioning, equipment, sports medicine, nutrition, mental wellness, coaching, right? All these different factors that live in their own silos that are now trying to come together as a group and try to collectively help the athlete perform at a higher level.
Yeah.
The athletes are getting bigger, they're getting stronger, and they're only focusing on one sport, which I think unfortunately is a bad thing. I think, high school athletes need to focus in on different sport other than just going 24/7 football. But those are the biggest things that I've seen is the importance of making sure that our athletes are safe. And there's a collaboration between all these different silos now that for the first time in a long time to make sure that happens.
Yeah. Chris?
Yeah, I'm not the expert in that field, but I'll tell you what's interesting. Here's sort of tying together the beat that I've been on and some things that he said with the advancements. I remember 10 years ago, Vanderbilt was again reneging on promises to invest in football. The excuse I got at the time was, well, we don't know about head injuries in the future of football. It's in danger. I kind of laughed at that. I said, there's a point in there, but when there's so much money in an enterprise like there is football, and you have a free market, people figure stuff out. There's too much money to be made to get rid of football. And sure enough, we have, you would know more than I would, made a lot of progress on those things just through advances in technology, which are just off the charts fast in terms of how quickly things are changing. We're able to monitor things. And that's one thing I think of is just how much some of this has probably saved the game of football itself, because there was a point 18 years ago where concussions and CTE seemed like a daily topic. And that's a threat to the game that it seems like we have, not going to say gotten out entirely, but certainly helped mitigate a lot through advances in technology and equipment.
Yeah, I think also the education part of it, right? I think education has really driven a huge part of that, especially at the youth market. And that's really where sport really starts. And for me, and my wife, who started helmetfitting.com, has been really striving to help the parents and high school coaches understand the importance of, everybody's talking, like you said, about CTE and concussion. That's still a conversation in today's market. And just probably the lack of information of what's out there to help these coaches and parents on how this equipment now fits and how it's supposed to perform, other than just saying, hey, we have a concussion protocol as part of our educational platform. That's great. But if you're not making sure your equipment is fitting correctly and being used as the manufacturer wants you to, your concussion protocol really doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense if you're not talking about the one thing that's there to be proactive to try to hopefully reduce the effects of the concussion. Not saying it's going to stop it, but hopefully reduce it. But I don't think there's enough time and effort put into the educational portion of that. And I think that's kind of where I've really, my wife and I, Liz, started Helmet Fitting. And that was really our goal, was to really show what the manufacturers were trying to accomplish. When, 2015, I won the Maxwell Award for Innovation and Safety. And Ron Jaworski asked me, Dana, what can we do to help, save the game that's under attack, which was football at that time. And that's really where all it stems, right? Is how do we educate our youth parents, our youth coaches, our high school coaches that, hey, these manufacturers have spent billions of dollars to try to, reduce the effects of CTE or, study CTE or reduce the effects of concussion. But are we doing the right things to actually educate them so they understand what the end result is? And that is to have that athlete enjoy the game of football, baseball, basketball, whatever it is. And that's really what you're looking for.
Yeah. And, Chris and I both live, Memphis, Nashville, about the same size. I mean, Nashville and Memphis probably together 2.5, 3 million people. I know in Memphis, Dana, 10 or 12 years ago, lacrosse it's exploded. And it's, I call these esoteric sports. Hell, when I was in high school, Coach Nix at Christian Brothers called soccer a communist sport. He goes, what are you doing out there? But we had Coach Billy Canali, rest in peace. The Canali family in Memphis, legendary. 4 of them in one family played in the NFL. The 3 brothers, Dominic, Michael, and Andrew, they all came to Memphis in 1858. I've never seen jeans like this. Billy Canali played at Mississippi State. He made a football helmet. And you know how you have the bar on the end of that you lift weights, that you put the weight plates on? He had a football helmet with that thing sticking up on there. And you would put the weight plates on there and you'd bend it up and down and build up your neck muscles. I mean, it was kind of primitive probably at the time. But, man, when Chris, I can't even begin to describe what goes on in the athletic in the football complex, and now the Wolsoltz Performance Center. And Dana, what you're doing every time I talk to you, you're working with an NFL team or whatever. 10 years ago, there were a lot of people predicting football was over. And what you and your wife Liz are doing, don't you? You're in medical school as well.
Yeah, my daughter just finished medical school and she's finishing up her residency up in Grand Rapids, Michigan
Wow.
at Helen DeVos Children's Hospital. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a strong base to build. And I think Chris and I and everybody would agree. I'm getting a lot of people saying it. We almost lost. I mean, if you go a year, 2, 3 years of kids not play, I can tell you in Memphis, I saw it. The middle school football, you went from having 45 or 50 kids to some years 14, 15 kids. You can't do that. And I mean, we know CTE. My brother-in-law has it. He played college football for Virginia Tech. And I don't know if that, he also played rugby into his 50s. But the number of concussions, are the numbers going down? Is targeting, are they getting the message through on that?
I don't know if the concussions are going down. It depends on who you look and read and find on TV and all the Google stuff. But I think the importance of impact has definitely raised the bar, right? I think there's different things. I think the Ivy League started it, right, with Yale, Harvard, and that group really limiting contact and just going, body on padding versus body on body. And that helped reduce concussion at that level. You're seeing that at the NFL as well. I think the NFL, I know that they started using a modality called Guardian Cap, but they also reduced impact during training camp by 75%. So they even realized that, hey, we don't need to hit at that level all the time. I think they realized that those athletes are a very well-tuned machine and they know what they're doing. So maybe let's not hit as often. And you see the reduction of their concussions may come down. I think you see that across the board. I think college is the same way. I literally just left after a 30-year career. And you see that the way you train now is not Monday through Friday. It's sensor systems, tracking mileage, tracking, all these different scenarios that could happen to an athlete so they can perform at a high level on a Saturday. Equipment has become better. All these little nuances that have happened since the last decade has really helped. And you can see the numbers of football across America are going up. They're not going down. Yeah. So yeah. I literally just left a meeting a week ago in California. I was talking to the state assembly there about an article that we were writing for AB1, which is the Coaches Safety Act, to help parents understand the safety protocols that you have to do for your youth athlete. And they're at 3.9 million youth football players playing in the state of California. It just keeps going up. So I think, again, educating those athletes, educating coaches is going to be a very key component of what we do to move the game forward.
Chris? Wow.
That's a lot of people.
Right. It is. And that's in Northern California, or, a little bit of Southern California. So it is a crazy deal. I think the other thing you see right now is a big shift to flag football. If you guys have seen this little narrative that's going out there, I'm going to play flag football because it's safer than contact sport. And it's kind of funny when you think about it. Rydell came out with a helmet 20 years ago now, probably even longer than that, the Speed Flex helmet, and it was the #1 concussion helmet in America. And everybody's like, "Oh my God, that helmet's so bad." It was the #1 wearable helmet in the country, which means that for every 10 athletes that was playing football, 9 of them had that helmet. So of course their concussion numbers were going to go up because there was more helmets than any other brand out there. So now you sit there and say, "Hey, look, we want to play flag football." I'm like, well, that's great. Those numbers are going to go up. Head is still going to hit the ground. And, those you can still get a concussion in flag football too. So it's understanding what this is all about. You look at 7-on-7 camps now. Everything's now a soft shell helmet. And this summer I was at the NOXI Standards Committee, and they're trying to put a face mask now on a soft shell helmet. They were talking about that. I'm like, then what's the point of having a soft shell helmet if you're not going to impact people? Now you're forcing that impact. And again, I think it goes back to educating the parents. Hey, look, your kids can play, youth football from ages 6 to 14. There is a safe way about doing that, but taking the time to do it, that's really what I find to be the biggest problem, is people don't take the time to do it. So,
yeah, Rob, I have a question here, if you don't mind.
Jump in.
Feel free to laugh me off the show here. I'm not sure I believe this, but I'm gonna give this as a premise. I've heard it said that one way to get some of the head injuries out of football is to take away the helmets entirely, which sounds stupid, but the thought behind it is that maybe it gives you a false sense of security, that in other words, if I'm going out there and we're playing football, I don't have a helmet, I have automatically built in my head a way of playing without putting my head at risk. Now, look, I think that you could collide with somebody that you don't see. I think there's multiple ways that could fall apart. But the thing that I always wonder as we increase helmet technology and safety is, are we building in a little bit of a false sense of security that's just going to encourage people to take more risk? Now, I think we mitigate some of that with the targeting rules and things like that. But I've always wondered and wanted to ask somebody like you, who you're an expert in these things, what your thoughts on those kind of things are.
Well, I think you're right. I think there's a level of, hey, the idea behind contact sport, the average impact speed at a college football game on Saturday, believe it or not, is 75 miles an hour. That's car wreck, right? Wow. So when you think about in that facet, our job as an equipment manager is to make sure that our athletes don't feel that, and that they can come back from those types of impacts. Lord. So yeah, but the other thing is, it goes back to the word sports performance, right? We are training these athletes to get bigger, stronger, faster. And if we can increase that contact even more, it is a scary thought, right? But you bring up a point where I think if we took the helmet off, this is a conversation that we had this summer in Chicago with another group of manufacturers, and it goes back to the 7-on-7 community where they're wearing soft shell helmets. Now the biggest problem that they have now is eye sockets, noses getting busted because there's nothing to protect the face. So that's why the conversation came up. Maybe we need to put some type of face guard on a soft shell helmet. I go, look, if you remove, you can't. Either way, it's going to be a contact sport. It is kind of difficult to sit there and say. I think the one thing I can look at is some of the studies that have gone out there and talked about helmet shoulder pad practices versus helmet only practices and understanding how to practice. And I said, I think the NFL's figured it out. Like I said, I think Ivy League has figured it out. You want to reduce it, don't hit each other all day long. Hit on air. The number one cause of concussion in the country right now is helmet only practices. The only weapon you have on your head at that point is the helmet. That's the only thing you're going to hit with. So the worst thing you can do is have a helmet only practice. You're better off just going out there in just jersey and no helmet, no equipment whatsoever, and just go through that motion. Once you put a helmet on, in this case, a lot of cases in high school, you put a weapon on it, right?
Yeah.
So you put that helmet on there, and that's the first thing you hit with. So there are ways to do this. Again, I think it's limiting the contact. There's enough drills out there that everybody has made up, drills on pad, drills on air, that the athlete can still learn how to tackle. The athlete can do that. And when you do need to implement impact, you can do that, but you're limiting that motion.
Let me throw this one at you. This is a great question, Chris. And that's got to be my dad, Bob in Memphis. Take off the face mask. That'll teach them how to tackle. My dad's 95. Okay. Still works out every day. I said, well, Dad, how many times did you break your nose? And he said, probably 4 that I can think of, but they used to take your nose, put it back in place. But that is a pretty primitive teaching method. Of course, he grew up when Wally Butts, no water at Georgia, made you soft. But I got to ask this one because this is a great discussion. And Chris, I really appreciate you staying on with us. Rivals Vandy site in the Southeastern 14. And Dana, we're going to give you, I want you to take time to let people know how they can follow you, contact you. I've got some people I know that want to talk to you. I'm going to work on that. But what you're doing, it ain't about making the game soft. It's not about making anything. You've got an NFL background. Who are some of the NFL players that that you talk to about this when you're putting these ideas into action? Because we've had Dr. Michael Zabala, Exo Armor at all College of Engineering. We've also had Dr. Andrews on the show several. Dr. Andrews. I mean,
yep.
Let's be honest. People talk about the strength coach and his staff spend more time with the football players, the athletes, than anybody. That's true, but it's even more true to say that you do. I've been around you. I know Westy, different people that have been through your program. Short of being in the military, it's about as tough as it gets. He said, man, he thanks you all the time. He goes, man, do it right, and you don't leave till you get it done. But talk about some of the guys that you've maybe tapped into that are legendary NFL players to make the game better. Because if we don't do it right, we don't want to lose it. Without football, might as well take the beaches away from Florida. Why would anybody go?
Yeah, no, it has been it's been fun to collaborate with my colleagues in the NFL, just not player wise, but also other equipment managers, GMs, other guys that have the lead scouts that are out there that are really watching it day to day. And my background is very diverse in those realms. So, but the biggest thing that I ask our athletes is, what would you prefer to have happen, right? Yeah. And I think the NFL has really kind of figured it out. I think they really have figured out that it's a time limit scenario, right? It's more film, it's more body on air at that level. I think college is a little different because there's so many, and there's so many distractions in college. Right. And what's the distraction? Is it day-to-day life for them? Is it school? What is it for them? And that's really been the difficult part. So the college guy does not have the time that an NFL player has to sit there and just study film all day, every day. Yeah. That's their job. In high school, hey, it's all about education. And I think, talking to our high school coaches that I've spoken to, it's really trying to getting them to understand what the game is and how to play it. But to go back to your question is who have I talked to? There's a lot of people in my 30-year career that I kind of lean on to help us, come up with new ideas, new concepts of new innovations that could help them perform at a high level. It's kind of hard to say just one person. So,
yeah. Marshawn Lynch, one of the toughest guys you've ever known.
Yeah, Marshawn's a little different character, but when he was at Cal Berkeley, he was definitely a tailback you wanted on your side. You definitely didn't want to hit him.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers was the same way at Cal. Talking about a guy that knew how to study, knew how to, bring everything together. He was definitely one of those guys you can lean on in that type of conversation. So, and that's really what you're looking for is guys that you can lean on in that room, right? Is you look at Kaufman right now, who obviously is a corner over at Auburn. He's the guy that I lean on, and because he understands his craft, he understands what he's trying to do. Sip, you see him really popping up off the screen right now. 4 interceptions, I think maybe 5. But he's really changed his philosophy. Igmanogany, who was at Auburn when I was there, his junior year, he completely shifted his mentality in regards to education of the game. And he invested his time and his energy to make himself better. And that doesn't happen across the board. That's like 1% of the country that does that. Wow. So it's those are the types of people that I truly am looking for to help spread the word of how to make yourself better and the steps that it takes to do that. And Chris, you got to know this, like you guys were talking about offensive linemen earlier. It's hard to become an offensive lineman when you're coming into college. Yeah. They're not big enough. They're not strong enough. Playing in high school is one thing. They're usually the biggest, the strongest person on their team and in that little county. But when you come here, they have no idea. And, that's where the strength coach comes in and say, dude, you're soft. And you're not really soft. I mean, they just have to lose weight. They got to get in condition. They have to understand the pounding that they're going to take. And that's hard to do. I think that's why you see the portal in college becoming so popular from the offense and defensive line standpoint, is because, those guys have played, they're bigger, they're stronger. You don't have to wait 2 years to build them back up. But it's understanding that piece and what strength and conditioning is doing, what equipment's doing, and how they all help each other.
Yeah. Chris? I agree.
Well, that gave me a thought. I always get asked when I've covered Vandy, who are the freshmen who are going to come in and have an impact? And my answer, I used to give guesses, and I used to end up being horribly wrong a lot more than I was right. And the thing that I've learned, the thing that I say now is ask me after 2-3 weeks of practice. I mean, I'll give somebody a guess because they got a hole here, got a hole there, and it's more obvious where somebody could plug in. But you just don't know how kids are going to perform because most of these guys, for the first time in their life, they're lining up against guys that are better than they are. And you don't know how a person's confidence is going to react to that. And so I always say, ask me after they played because
Chris, we're getting some echo. I don't know what
that. Yeah, I don't know what that is either. But
yeah.
Okay,
I don't know what that. Okay.
Hope it's not me.
Yeah, keep going. As you say, trying to predict how people are going to do when they come in, Dana. I remember talking to Tracy Rocker, Wilson and Max and I, May of 2010. He was up speaking in Memphis at an Auburn Club event, and I asked him, what's the biggest difference in the kids today? This is May of 2010, and you remember Coach Rocker, and when you and I were in school, and I said, in the mid and late 80s, and he said, biggest difference is a lot of the kids today, they're specializing in one sport. And so they're inside. Mommy takes them and drops them off at football practice 15 minutes beforehand. And, that's all they do. They get here. We got to teach them the tough part of it about, okay, you did that. You got to do it again and again and again. You got to reprogram them. And you spend a lot of time talking to them, and your staff does. Are the kids, Noah Igmanogany had 2 parents that were, I believe, Olympic athletes out of Hewitt-Trussville, came to Auburn as a wide receiver, I think, moved to defensive back, and he was the first-round draft pick of the Miami Dolphins. That's a great example. And Marcus Woodson, great to have him there. But I think what you're doing, Dana, and Chris hit on it, helping save college football, but not just football, but all the sports, because it encourages people to go play more often. I mean, I thank you for doing what you're doing. I'm about out of time. I've got to get you back on here soon. Let people know how they can follow you and Chris as well, and I'll let y'all get on. But this discussion, you could do it every day because it's what's going to keep people coming back.
Hey, guys, I really appreciate the time. It's always exciting to be on the show. So obviously, you can always track us down on helmetfitting.com, which is our main website. So you can find us on Twitter, Instagram. We're kind of everywhere. We have this new thing Liz and I have been doing, follow Liz and Dana in the car. It's on Instagram. We're traveling around visiting NFL teams, college teams. We're kind of all over the country right now. But that's been a blast to kind of really get some more educational pieces out there to tell people, hey, look, this is what the NFL is doing. This is what colleges are doing. So follow us on any of those platforms. I think would be awesome and be phenomenal for that following. So, but Chris, thank you very much. I mean, your insight's pretty amazing. So if there's anything I can ever do to help, let me know. And now that I'm just, my wife has me doing some honey-do lists today. So it's Friday. So I probably got some laundry I got to do, and which I'm pretty good at. So
yeah.
But I think it's, just enjoyable to be here. I really appreciate it. Like I said, go visit helmetfitting.com. You want to learn more about what Liz and I do and how we help the youth market.
Let me say one other thing too, as a compliment to how a boss, a leader should be. Dana, what it used to, once a week you would take your staff out for dinner, and then the next week they would come over to your house for a big cookout. I mean, you talk about investing in your people. I just know people who work for you. They go, he will work you like a rented mule. But when you get out later in life, when you're 25 and 30 years old, you go back and you go, man, thank God I knew Dana Marquez. I hear that from a lot of people who work for you. So thank you. And I mean that because you're supposed to take care of your men first. As my dad said, he goes, I was an officer in the Army. I didn't know a damn thing about being an officer, but that first sergeant did. He taught me everything. But you know how to do it. You ought to write a book about it. But Chris, let people know how they can follow you, and then we'll get out of here and let y'all have the rest of your day. Dana, you going to watch the Auburn game, though?
I am. I thought I'd go down there, but I think it's going to be a little bit easier. That's probably been the biggest challenge of my entire career is, 30 years of it, not being on the sideline this year and not being able to get that going. But honestly, my body's telling me you're fine. Yeah. You're not missing it at all. So, I am going to watch the game this weekend. And hopefully everything turns out all right for those guys.
That's right. Hey, thank you so much, Chris. Let them know how they can follow you, and then we'll take a break.
Danny, it was a pleasure. You can follow me at ChrisLee70. I'm not a huge Twitter guy, to be honest, or social media guy, but our work is on YouTube at Southeastern 14. We cover SEC football and baseball and basketball wall to wall. We do a live daily show from 11 to about 11:45-ish, Monday through Friday. I'll have Trey Wallace joining me today on that one. So folks want to follow me there. That time is Central. Hope they'll tune in and check us out.
All right, both of y'all, thanks a million for being on. We'll take this break, be right back. Ken Capps, Ann Camp Lee, Bo Carter, and Dr. Bill Hargrave from the University of Memphis talking about Tulane in Memphis tonight. We'll be right back.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Brown back here with you. Let's bring in Bo Carter from Carrollton, north of Dallas, almost in Oklahoma. Ken Capps, Football Writers Association of America. And guys, look, in about 15 minutes, I'm going to have Dr. Bill Hargrave on, president of the University of Memphis. I told him about y'all being on, and I know he is tonight at 6 o'clock at the Simmons Liberty Bowl Stadium. Memphis and Tulane play. I'd like to get y'all to maybe give him some input. His background's pretty cool. From Clarksville, Arkansas, out between Conway and Fort Smith. Got a PhD in information systems from Oklahoma State. Was at Arkansas for 17 years. And then Bobby Lauder brought him down to Auburn. In 2010, he took over as dean of the Lauder College of Business and increased enrollment 47% in 7 years. And then for 4 years was provost, and then accepted the job as the president at University of Memphis, April 1st of 2022. And he's on a mission. He is a huge sports fan. He ain't your typical university president. I can tell you that. He does not live in an ivory tower. He is a blue collar. When you go to meet him on campus, he will walk through campus from his office to meet with you so he can talk to the students who he is there and who he works for. He would be a great officer in the military, my dad says, having been there. He said, take care of your men first. Gentlemen, hopefully Ann Camp-Lee will join us for a couple of minutes from Knoxville. She's up there with her son for the Tennessee-Texas A&M game. That was a cool segment with my friend Dana Marquez from Auburn and Chris Lee, Vandy Rivals and Southeastern 14, talking about all the innovations and changes in equipment. We're saving the game of college football with people like that. I love having you on and Bo, because both of y'all are so organized. So as Dan Matthews, executive producer over in Atlanta, Chuck Oliver, Southern Sports Today, and Chuck and Chernoff, and now out in Houston on Sports Talk 790 says, your job, Rob, as the host of this show, is to engage your guests, get the ball in their hands, and let them run with it. So, Ken, Bo, who wants to go first? Ken, you got a hell of a menu. Let's go.
That's right. Well, hey, well, thanks a lot, and telling me I'm organized. That's the greatest compliment I've had all week. So thanks a lot. And hey, Bill in Mobile, why not make Dana commissioner of CFP? I think that's a good idea. So we need to have Bill Hancock on here, and all we need to do is the four of us to vote 4-0, and it's done, right? So I think that's it. I think that's awesome. And hey, do you mind take down that banner so you can see my face, man? You're blocking me out. I'm having to like jump up so you can see me.
Yeah, let me take. I gotta take that off. I'm trying to see how I can take it off. Mildred helped Mayday
but I wanted to address Bill in Mobile because I think that's I think he's got a very good point there. But hey, I had a lot of things on my mind this morning for this Friday for both you guys. But
there we go.
It all changed. It all changed yesterday. Thank you so much. It all changed yesterday when we got the very sad news that that Walt Garrison had passed away. Dallas Cowboy, Oklahoma State Cowboy, and a Cowboy's Cowboy.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that was rodeoing while he was playing for the Dallas Cowboys. And
that's awesome.
I looked up his stats, and I thought this was very interesting that while he was at Oklahoma State, his senior year, he made over 1,000 yards rushing and receiving his senior year there with the Pokes. And, back in 1965, that was no small thing, right, Bo?
Exactly. I tell you, they it was 2.5 yards in a cloud of dust back then. So,
yeah. And, he averaged 4.2 yards a carry with the Cowboys. And that still sticks as like fourth or something like that with yards per carry. And you think of all the running backs and fullbacks that have been with the Cowboys ever since. That ain't too shabby. But I thought the funniest story that I read about him was so he's drafted by the Cowboys in '66. And Bo, you'll remember all this. By the way, Rob, you'll like this. He is a local boy from here in the Metroplex. He went to Louisville High School, which is the home of the Fighting Farmers.
Yep. Suburban Carrollton.
Yeah, real close to Carrollton. That's
Right
exactly right. Yeah, but Bo can ride his bicycle over to Louisville High School.
All right, we got
anyway. Go ahead,
I got something for you. I want to show you that I pulled this up from the archives, or as they say in Red Bay, Alabama, the archives. You ready for this one? See if you remember this commercial.
Hey, it's easy to do road picks first time around. Same goes for smokeless tobacco, but here's one that's easier to use: Skoal Long Cut. Now, it's not chewing tobacco. Long cut means it packs easy. Stays put between your cheek and gum. So Skoal Long Cut makes it easy to enjoy tobacco without lighting up. Comes in wintergreen, mint, or the rich, smooth taste of new Skoal Long Cut Straight. Try them all. It's a lot easier than this.
I mean, you think about, and by the way, the legend of that story of the football that my parents brought back in 1971 from Dallas Cowboys, they were out there on a business trip. They got to go down on the field, and they got 47 autographed pictures from everybody on that team. Roger Staubach, Walt Garrison, Dwayne Thomas, Bob Lilly, Bob Hayes, Craig Morton was the backup, Tom Landry. Old Einstein here played football in the neighborhood with that football and scuffed it up, and all the autographs. If I would have known then what I know now, I would have known what I didn't know then. I wish I would have known what I know. You know what I'm saying? What an idiot. But Walt Garrison was one of the people that said, I mean, you talk about an alpha male, that culture. We need more Walt Garrisons
let me tell you the story
in America, not just football, but America.
Well, let me tell you the funny story about his rodeo and about that Skoal, where that Skoal endorsement came from. So first of all, he gets drafted by the Cowboys. And at first he's not a starter. He's not a fullback. He is he's on special teams. Mm-hmm. So, and he's great on special teams. I mean, he's knocking the hell out of people. Yeah. But he doesn't think he's playing enough. So after team meetings or before curfew, he would go out and rodeo. Now, you live in Dallas, you can throw a rock and find a rodeo somewhere. Mm-hmm. And so Coach Landry finds out about this, calls Walt into his office and says, dude, you're going to have to quit this rodeoing, because if you get hurt while you rodeo, your contract is null and void. And he says, Coach Landry, I didn't think rodeoing was that dangerous. He goes, I think running around and hitting these guys in football is more dangerous than rodeoing. And Coach Landry says, well, we need you to stop rodeoing because I don't want you to get hurt rodeoing and then you don't have a contract with the Cowboys. Number two, on the Skoal thing, one night when he's out rodeoing, somebody from Skoal sees him put a pinch between his cheek and gum. And the guy comes up, this is a true story. The guy comes up and talks to him and says, hey, we are actually looking for somebody to be in our commercials, to kind of be a representative and be our front person for Skoal. Would you be interested? And he said, yes. And so the rest is history, a pinch between your cheek and gum. So there you go, folks.
Yeah.
R.I.P. number 32.
Yeah. And it's just so much fun. And I know, and keep going down that agenda. You got that again, seriously. I mean, we're all the people that love the newspaper. You get up in the morning, you got a plan. I mean, my dad is funny. You don't hang a picture on the wall without him taking out a leveling beam. You go, boy, everybody knows there's 16 inches between the stud, 14 on the inside. He goes, you hang that thing half-assed, that picture's going to swing and hang. And I mean, I'm surprised my parents didn't kill each other growing up whenever we would move and have to restart. My mother going, Bob, he goes, Shirley, I'm going to tell you right now, God, woo, scotch and water time. But you got to do it right. And, of course, we grew up as a family. Remember when there was 4 channels? It was better. It really was better. It really was. But we watched the Cowboys. My mother's favorite, she's 88, his dad's 95, Dick Vermeil, Tom Landry. She never, ever forgave Jerry Jones for getting rid of Tom. That was her man, Tom Landry. He could do no wrong. And what a tribute. King of the Hill, Tom Landry High School, the Tom Landry haircut. I mean, it's just that. I mean, the Cowboys can go, I don't know how long it's been, almost 28 years since the last Super Bowl, whatever. But they're like that bonfire that you build. The next morning you go out, you blow on those hot coals in the bottom of it. Doesn't take much, and it gets going, and everybody's right back by the fire having a ball. Ken, let's get the agenda going. I want to hear what you got. And again, this is why we love the great writers, because you think about what you're saying because you've already written it. You plan, and it works. Both of y'all, I just love having y'all on.
Well, Rob, and I tell you, it's an honor. It really is an honor for me to be with you and Bo on your show on Fridays, and I really do think about what I want to talk about with you, and what I think that your listeners and viewers want to hear and want to talk about, and the feedback that I've been getting, because I send out to my friends, hey, I'm going to be on Friday with these guys, and here's some of the topics I'm going to talk about. And they send me topics that they'd like to hear about. And I think that that's so cool.
Love it.
Because I listen to some of these shows, and it's just really BS in my opinion. And I like to talk about things that if we were sitting, I basically look at this as we're sitting here in a living room, or we're sitting here in your dining room there in Memphis, and if we were the three of us sitting around, having a cold glass of iced tea, and we had an hour to talk, what would we really want to talk about? And it's really kind of the funny things that are going on in sports, the serious things that are going on in sports, but the factual stories that are going on in sports, not all the rumors, not all the diatribe. And so that's the way I approach it. So if you like that, that's the way I do it. And I know, Bo and I talk all the time, and of course I'm always loving to kid Bo, about living close to Oklahoma, but Bo is such a wealth and treasure of knowledge too. I just love to sit down and talk to him, But the other thing I was going to talk about, and this, I wish Yancey was on here, because I always like to give a Arch Manning update anytime I can, and breaking news to the Longhorn fans. He didn't play last week, and he's not going to play anytime soon. So I have, spoiler alert, but let me tell you what Arch Manning did this week. And I just again, I'm so glad that this young man, he comes from a great family. Everybody knows that, class people. But for a guy that hasn't played a down of football yet in college football, he's already made over $100,000 in NIL deals. And he did right when he got on campus, he did a trading card that he signed, and it went up for auction for $60,000. That was the starting bid, was $60,000. Well, the bid ended, the auction ended this past week, and it went for $102,000. Okay. He donated all $102,000 to the Ronald McDonald House Charities. Now, I'm sure y'all know what Ronald McDonald House Charities is, but just so our viewers know, that is the place where families stay when their child has cancer. That is where the family stay in, like a house or a hotel or wherever it is. That's where they stay while their son or daughter is undergoing cancer treatment. And I just read that, and I was just like, man, I am just so proud of Arch Manning, and just so glad that he did that. It doesn't surprise me, but I just wanted our viewers to know that.
Well, I'll tell you, I first learned, we knew about it, but I got involved October of 2011, went and met with the people at Ronald McDonald House in Memphis. They have 53 rooms located across the street there from St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in downtown Memphis. And we went to see how we could help. And it's unbelievable. They bring a family in going through cancer treatment, and we all said a prayer. I believe it was St. Prayergan, the patron saint of cancer patients, which is a powerful Catholic prayer. And wow, I mean, it humbles you. And so we got a group of volunteers together and cooked for them. And we didn't get a bite. I mean, those families are coming over. And then Duncan Williams, my friend, and I worked for him and got involved in the Clays for Kids sporting clays thing at the Memphis Sports Shooting Association. And they just had the event a couple of weeks ago. And we had two of the $3,000 teams and one of the $1,500 teams. We were putting the word out on this show. And thank God, unbelievable amount of volunteers. But they do incredible work in Memphis. And kind of a good segue, Dr. Bill Hargraves, president, University of Memphis, is on with us now. And Dr. Hargraves, the three greatest assets in the city of Memphis. One of them is St. Jude. The other one's University of Memphis. You got Tulane tonight. I'm going to the game tonight over in Memphis at the Liberty Bowl, Simmons Liberty Bowl Stadium. But these two gentlemen are Ken Capps, Football Writers Association out in Dallas. Bo Carter, former SID at Mississippi State, Big 12 office, now National Football Foundation, Baseball Writers of America. And I think they can get your word out. They see what's going on in Dallas with SMU, and you want to make something great happen in Memphis. And I'm going to hand the ball off to you, Doc.
Hey, I appreciate it. Good to see you guys, and apologize that I don't have a video on. I'm in a car right now, and
safety first.
Trust me,
safety.
And trust me, guys, it's probably better when my camera's not on. It's better to look at a blank screen than it is to look at my face. So this is a bonus for you guys. Hey, big game for us tonight. Looking forward to having a huge crowd here. Certainly we've last few games been close games. I'm so excited about our team this year. Last year we would have lost those close games that we've won the last few games. And so I tell you, this team has no quit in them. This team will run through a wall for their head coach. And I think we're going to have a great game this evening.
And Bill, Dr. Hargraves, and Bo and Ken, both of y'all, you see what's going on in Memphis. And I'm as a lifelong Memphian and an Auburn grad, but I love Memphis. And there's so many people I know that live in Memphis, first off, that have never been asked to support the school that will. And also, if you live in Memphis, just like in Dallas, what you've got going on with SMU, you got to be pulling for the local school. Bo or Ken, drop in any advice you might want to give to Dr. Hargraves to grow the brand and get 60,000 people there, regardless of who you're playing. They're just there because they want to see the University of Memphis.
Well, two things for Dr. Hargraves. The Memphis quarterbacks from Flower Mound, Denton, right out North Dallas. Hennigan's one of the great. His dad's a football coach. He'll be in the NFL in another year or two. He's a great ball player. Dr. Hargraves, the other big question is Rendezvous or Corky's, which barbecue is your favorite? I don't want to put you on the spot.
I never make a public declaration of my favorite barbecue. I may do a lot of things wrong, but I will never go out on that limb.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, Dr. Hargrave. Me and Bo work for barbecue, so we'll come out there to Memphis, and you can and yeah, we have consultants fees. It's called a plate of barbecue. So we'll come out there and we'll come out there and walk the campus with you, and then we'll come go out to barbecue. Is that okay?
That's a deal right there. You guys come out, I'll just take you to barbecue. I won't say it on the radio, but I'll just drive you out to where we're going to eat.
But I really want to say I applaud you for what you're doing and being out on campus and letting the students see you and visiting with the students. I think that's so important because I go around and go to games all over the country, and the schools that really build the enthusiasm on campus, that build the campus support, are not only when the athletic director does that and is seen and be seen around campus, but also when the president does that. And we have a really good case here down in Texas as well. Where if you look at Chris Del Conte's Twitter page, look at that sometime, and people are always writing to him, either making suggestions about things that need to go on at the stadium, or complaining about things that need to change at the stadium. And he is very, very responsive to fans, and that may be something too that you may want to think about, as well as the athletic director. Just being very active on Twitter and looking at your social media and thinking about how you can make more outreach out there and just talk about what's not only going on in sports in Memphis, but what's going on campus. So if I didn't go to Memphis, but I live in Memphis, or in Tennessee for that matter, and the metro areas, I lived in Nashville for a while. That whole area around Memphis, put out more information coming straight from you. When it comes straight from the top dog, it matters. And, you've got a lot of good news going on there. Spread it. And number two, though, what I wanted to say was, after giving you that great compliment, because I mean it, was let's definitely look at the models. And Rob mentioned SMU doing a very good job here in Dallas of making SMU the Dallas team. And they've done a very good job with that. The area code here is 214. And so, they're the team of the 214. But let me tell you another school just to look at and take a really hard look at their model is San Antonio, and the University of Texas at San Antonio, UTSA. My gosh, they have turned San Antonio into UTSA's biggest fandom. And UTSA, San Antonio, they've got the Spurs, but that's it. And so, man, I tell you, I've covered UTSA when they were in Conference USA. And of course, they've been in the Conference USA championship games. They've turned out a lot of good players here of late. And they'll get 40, 50, 60,000 people in their stands. They play in the Alamo Dome. And I tell you, I would just take a look at them. And I know Memphis can do that because Memphis is a great city. You've got one of your number one ambassadors sitting right up here at Rob Brown. And I would really look around too at, for some of your city leaders, with the convention center, the mayor and other folks to jump on your team and say, look, we need to make the University of Memphis, the Memphis team. I know you've got the Grizzlies and everything too. Hey, your school can be the team of Memphis, in my opinion. Would you not agree?
Absolutely. And
great.
We do. I think we own the 901. or at least we think we do, but we've got to do a better job of telling our story. So you are 100% right. I've only been here. I've been here a little over a year, and Rob knows this. Is that, man? It's almost on a weekly basis. I uncover something that we're doing on campus, and I just say, why are we not telling the world about what we're doing here? And I'll share a stat with you guys that you're going to find it's going to blow your mind, because it blew my mind when I discovered it. Our in the year before I got here, we spent $200,000 on direct market advertising, or I'm sorry, on paid media. 200,000. 200,000. You know what you get for 200,000? Nothing.
Right.
I mean, right? I mean, so part of it is we have such an incredible story, and we're not telling our story, and we've got to do a much better job, because we have a great story to tell. Not just on the athletic side, which I think we've got a great story there, but just on the academic side and the wonderful thing that's going on across campus. And I'm actually in the car with my provost right now. We're driving out to one of the places outside of campus at President's Island, where we're doing work with the Office of Naval Research, the Naval Warfare Academy, we have the largest water cavitation channel in the country right here, and we're doing research. I mean, it's like a wind tunnel with water, and it's right here in Memphis, and we're it's amazing. It's this crazy thing, but we ought to be telling the world about the great things that we're doing, and we're not. And I agree 100%.
Well, if you've got your own island, that's a great start.
By the way, in May of 2011, when we had this flood, the river got up to almost 48 feet. President's Island has some of the biggest white-tailed deer in America. There were some 250 to 300 pound bucks coming out of those bottoms, but I digress on that one. But Dr. Hargrave, I go back to Bobby Louder, what he means to Auburn, and he saw in you something really special. I got a ton of respect for that man. When he won the Lifetime Achievement Award at Auburn, my friend Maury Gaston said, I've never seen that man emotional, but it meant a lot to him. And he said, we all want to drink from the well, but let's not forget those who dug the well. It takes a lot of people to be involved. And I know so many people that are watching and listening right now that are Memphis people. They went to Memphis. They didn't go to Memphis, but they asked the favorite phrase, what can I do to help? I know you just got a few minutes. You're with your provost, which you're different. You were a provost. Now you're a president, but in the military, you've got the commanding officer, the XO, the command master sergeant, the sergeant major, whatever. At provost, I've always been told, executes the game plan. But the two of y'all are so hands-on. I go back to the College of Business at Auburn, 2010 to 2017, increased enrollment 47%. It is now bigger than the College of Engineering. You are a doer. You're a producer. You're a winner. Let's talk about, whatever you want to say before you go, but I know you're busy, but it's fun watching somebody that cares. Thank you for coming on here, by the way.
Well, I appreciate it. And I just very quickly then, we've got to get our friends and our alumni and our business community involved. And we do that by letting them know how they can be involved and sharing what we're trying to do. And that's something I don't think we've done well in the past, is letting people know, hey, here's what we're trying to do, letting the business community go, here's what we're trying to do, and here's how you can help. And when you help, by the way, here's where we're going to be able to get to. And we just haven't done a good job of articulating that story. It goes back to, we're just not telling people what we're doing. Well, we've got a great new strategic plan. We've got an incredible team that we're building here. Just brought the provost on, joined us this summer. We have a vision for this university to be among the nationally recognized public research universities in this country. Athletics plays a huge role in that, in putting this on, visibly on a stage. But it's also the great programs that we have, the great students that we're turning out, the great companies we're working with, and we're going to do a better job of articulating where we're going and how people and our friends and alumni and how the business community can help. And I appreciate, Rob, as always, the opportunity to be on the show. I do apologize. I'm going to have to drop off, but Rob, have me on again soon, would you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we will definitely do it. And hopefully I'll see you out there tonight at the Liberty Bowl.
All right. Take care. Everybody have a great day.
You bet. Appreciate it. Great stuff. And I appreciate y'all giving your input, your insight. And
Rob, I've got some more ideas for him too, because, I was just blown away by both Dallas and San Antonio. And, another way that I was going to tell him, and I'm sure they do some of this already, but one of the ways to really, not only you do this with the business community, but you do it with the grassroots community. And one of the ways I've seen this done really well, and that's here in Austin, is when you get your athletes involved in the elementary school community and with the public schools, and you send those kids and you send those athletes out there to mentor kids, K through 12, and not only send them out there, to play basketball or play soccer with the kids or things like that, but actually go out there and mentor them. And there are so many international kids now in all these different school districts, and there's so many different international kids now in these schools. Yeah. And what I've seen is that, you can match athletes to different schools where they have a large population of kids from different countries. In fact, I'll give you a great example. They had a situation here at Texas last year where there were some students from Kenya, and they were in a fourth grade class. Believe it or not, there was a women's basketball player who was from Kenya, and I was actually a part of that program. And so the women's basketball team went out to this class, and they began speaking the same language to these Kenyan fourth graders. And just absolutely, there were tears flowing. Everybody was hugging each other. It was a magnificent story. And then to take that a step further, it turned out that we got all of the Kenyan, the kids' parents to come out to a practice, and then eventually to a ball game to come see the women's basketball team play. And again, that's how you connect the community to these schools and to these athletes. And I was bawling like a baby when I saw this going on, because can you imagine? These are people that are from Kenya that have relocated to Austin, and not many people speak the language of Kenya in Austin, but here's this basketball player who's also from Kenya speaking their language and talking to them and welcoming them. And it was just one of the most magnificent things in the world. And, that can be done anywhere. You just have to be able to, to get people behind it and go do it.
Yeah, absolutely. You do. Hey, I want to do something real quick. Ann Camp Lee is going to join us in just a minute, rumbleboxinggym.com. And Ann, let me know when you're ready, and we'll bring you on here. But I want to say something. Yesterday afternoon, Audrey and I were out at Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. It's absolutely gorgeous. And Charles and Laura Hall, Raven, they were all out there. I bet they brought in 50 boxes of new stuff. Pendleton, Schaefer, Hire, Vask, Light, Old South, Devil Dog jeans. Yep, absolutely a World War I era Marine. Started that company years ago. If you wear a size 40, you wear a size 38 in those. Already makes you feel good. Great looking jeans. Over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots, kids' boots. They even have, the toy guns and stuff for the kids to play, play cowboys. It's just an awesome store. Charles Hall, Laura Hall, they've been working there. I know Charles has been working there for 24 years. Hewlett & Dunn's been around since 1961, but largest order ever of Filson gear coming in. And we'll be talking with Laura Hall tomorrow. Great looking women's stuff. I'm going to try to say some Italian. My wife, Audrey, got her a couple of pairs of boots yesterday. Dolce Vita. That's north of Dallas,
yeah.
isn't it? Up there near the Red River. He's from Dolce Vita, yes, sir. But I think that other fellow over there is from Rome, Italy. But Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, Hewlett and Dunn.com. Yeah, they will deliver anywhere. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Once you get after Thanksgiving, after Black Friday, they will be open on Sundays 1 to 5 during Christmas. Great people out there. All right. And, we're ready to go ahead and bring Ann in real quick. And Ann can't believe RumbleBoxingGym.com. Ann is up there to check on her son, John, who's a freshman at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. They host the Aggies, Neyland Stadium. 500,000 people will be in that stadium tomorrow. At this time, Pride of the Southland band will come out and form a giant T, and the volunteers will run onto the field. And as John Ward would say, it's football time in Tennessee. RumbleBoxingGym.com, Ann, 1835 Union Avenue in Memphis. I've known Ann's parents since 1995, Bo and Kim. And her mother, talk about a gene pool. Her father passed away a couple of years ago. He was, 97 or 98? Yeah, you're muted. Uh-oh, we can't hear you. Sorry about that. Yeah, you there? Okay. Hold it. Can you hear us now? Yeah. But
Can you hear me?
mother, yeah, we hear you now. Her mother is 97, and in the last 6 months has been inducted into the Arkansas Waterfowl Hall of Fame, the Bass Pro Sports Hall of Fame back in Saturday night, August 19th in Springfield, Missouri. And she recently got a puppy. You talk about optimism at 97, getting a puppy. You cannot beat it. Great genes. But let's talk about Rumble Boxing Gym. What's going on there? Just a couple of minutes. People are interested. They want to get in great shape. They want to be challenged. Challenge them, man.
All right. I'm making sure you can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you, but it's not as good. We need maybe, yeah. Go ahead. I feel like, yeah, you're breaking up real bad. We may have to, if the signal doesn't come through, we can try it again in the morning, but I can, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to give it a try. All right, so Rumble, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Rumble is it's a national chain. I bought into this franchise about 2 years ago, and so I opened my first of 3 in Memphis about 6 months ago, and it is the most entertaining, efficient, challenging workout you can imagine. Rob has done it. I kicked his butt.
I love it.
It's 45 minutes. There's no ring and there's no kickboxing. It's all one side of the room is hanging boxing bags, 24 of them, and the other side of the room is weight benches with weights. So you spend half your time on one side of the room and the other half on the other. And it's all dark, and you've got really hype music and hype instructors, and you're done before you know it. But you just feel so much better after you get out of there. It really strengthens your core, and it's the best cardio workout. You burn up to 500 calories in 45 minutes, so it's very efficient. And it's just, I'm getting older. I'm turning 62, so I feel like it really helps my balance and strength and core and all that stuff. So we've got some just great deals that, it's meant for everybody, every level, every age can do it. And we just teach you the 6 punches as soon as you come in there, so no experience is needed. But we got some great deals for October, and we've got a 20% off your first month going on right now, and then we've got BOGOs for people that just want to try it.
Well,
Ann, I'm getting in my car right. Hey, Ann, I'm getting in my car right now.
Come on. Here's what our gloves look like. We got awesome merchandise too.
Love that.
Good merch. I'm a merch guy. I'm a merch guy.
Good. I got these awesome sweatshirts. So, are you in Memphis? You're not in Memphis, right?
I'm in Dallas.
Dallas. Okay. We have one there right by the stadium, by the Cowboy Stadium.
Really?
Yeah. And
there
Bo,
you go.
are you Austin? Are you Austin, Bo?
Yeah, well, no, we're in Carrollton, north of Dallas, in southern Oklahoma. So.
And you're where?
In Carrollton, Texas, north of Dallas, close to Denton.
Okay. So yeah,
I think there might be one in Denton.
Both of y'all can check them out. There's quite a few popping up in Texas. But for the Memphis folks, come over to Union Avenue, 1835 Union Avenue, at the corner of McLean and Union.
And it's easy parking there, and you got all the gear that you need. I'm going to tell you, because I like to swim and bike and run, do all this stuff. It's like land swimming. It's that good of a workout. You will, when you finish after 45 minutes, star jacks, burpees, jumping jacks, dips, planks, dumbbell work. I'm telling you, and it's the even the bags are ergonomically designed, aren't they? And you don't tear your hands. I mean, it doesn't tear your body up, and you get a phenomenal workout.
Mm-hmm. They're water filled, 250 pounds of water, so they're a little bit easier on your hands than a heavy bag.
Yeah, I love it. And look, let's do this again in the next week or so. RumbleBoxingGym.com. Check them out on our website. Very fortunate, blessed to have great sponsors. Like I said, Ann, you got the great gene pool, man. And you're just getting started, man. Yeah, this is awesome. Y'all have fun.
Yeah,
have fun up in Knoxville.
I mean, come on.
She's
a baby. I'll only come if I get to work out with Ann.
Yeah.
Come on up here.
She's in phenomenal shape, man. All right.
Oh, thank
Looks
you.
like it.
Y'all go have fun up there at the game, and we will be talking to you in the next week. RumbleBoxingGym.com. Check them out on our website.
Thanks, y'all. Good meeting you.
Same here. All right. I'm going to tell you what, we got some phenomenal sponsors,
Yes.
And again, I love talking with y'all. I think Dr. Hargraves kind of like, wow, getting ideas, man, San Antonio, Dallas, what they're doing, the branding, both of y'all. And it is Texas State University. What's going on there? You know what's happening? If Billy Graham were around, he might be doing football revivals because there's just there's an uprising by the fans saying, you're not taking this game from us. We love it too much. Both of y'all write about it. Was it 488 BC? I don't know. My dad, he might remember, but Herodotus, the Greek history. Okay. You have to tell the history, the traditions, identify the heroes of college football. We got about 15 minutes left, man. Y'all have at it. I just want y'all going back and forth, and I'm going to listen. I have a question or two, but I want to listen. I'll talk about where we are and where we're going.
Just a quick one, Rob. They put lights at Vanderbilt State, or what then was Dudley Field in 1958, so they could have a Billy Graham crusade and nighttime crusade in the summer. So Billy helped out the Commodores football as much as Vanderbilt's football program. He probably should have prayed for him a little bit more, how that goes. But
hey,
it's quite a deal.
I mean, I like that. I like that. Ken, you travel all over the country. You're a Texas grad, but you cover every game like you care just as much about them. Obviously, your roots are burnt orange and white. We know that. That's fine, but you're objective and you get excited about the teams you cover.
Absolutely.
What's been the best part this year, besides, I'm sure, for you going to Tuscaloosa?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Tuscaloosa was fun. And what was also fun was at the Texas-Oklahoma game last week, we were talking, you and I were talking about it on that Friday about all of the great fried food that that was going on at the fair, and my wife Laura and my 13-year-old Caroline also went to the game last week, and so the Cotton Bowl, it's for some reason it's one of the rare places that they'll give you an in and out pass. So most places, once you're in the stadium, there is no re-entry, but there they'll give you an in and out pass, and so they went out and got some bona fide, honest to God fried food and brought it back in the stadium. And so I said, "Will y'all just bring me something back? I don't care what it is, as long as it's fried. Bring me something back." And so they brought me back in the third quarter. It was a grilled cheese sandwich, but it had been double fried, and it was so good. Yeah. It was so good. I'm so glad that they had some hand sanitizer in their clear bag, because it was so greasy, but it was so good. And then the other thing that brought me back was, and this is a Texas State Fair, just tradition, and Bo, you know this,
Corn
an
dog.
honest to God funnel cake.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
And it's got about 2 pounds of powdered sugar on top of it. And so once you eat it, you're just like covered in powdered sugar. It looks like, you've got dandruff or something, but it's so good. So that's how I began the third quarter there at the Texas-Oklahoma game, was covered in double fried grilled cheese and funnel cake. So, and you were talking, I wanted to talk about your boot sponsor, because boy, it was quite the fashion show last week in the Cotton Bowl Plaza. Both sides, the jean skirts, the cowboy boots, it's just such a phenomenon before that game, and how people are dressed and how they get dressed up. And nobody is slouching at that game. Nobody's coming in a hoodie, and house shoes. Okay, it is a phenomenon. And I thought, and I wanted to give a shout out to my fellow football writers colleague Kirk Bowles at the Austin American Statesman. He's also on the All-American Selection Committee with me, and he writes a column every week where he throws out all just 9 or 10 things that he's thinking about, and one of his column items is crazy predictions. So you guys mull this around, and Bo, tell me what you think. His crazy prediction is Oklahoma loses 2 games before the end of the season.
I honestly, a friend of mine, you remember Joni Lehman, who's been on the Big 12 staff for 25 years, says the theory every year Oklahoma plays one bad game, no matter, even when Stoops was there or whatever, they ran the table in 2000, but they always have one game that they sort of, and about a third of the time it's to Oklahoma State in that big Bedlam series, which is about to come to an end, unfortunately. But
I'm going to Bedlam.
Good. I'm glad you're going up there.
I'm going to Bedlam. It's November. It's November.
Saturday after Thanksgiving, I think.
The 4th. No, it's the 4th or the 11th.
That's right. They moved it up. That's right.
No, I'm definitely going. It's in Stillwater. And my son went to Oklahoma State, and I've been to Stillwater many, many times. And in fact, every year that Austin, my son Austin, named after my hometown, was out there, Oklahoma State beat Texas.
I know.
So I always had to hear about that from his Pike fraternity brothers. So, but I'm definitely going to Bedlam, and see that's the thing, guys. What you're saying, Rob, was so true. I mean, I got my undergrad at Texas, I got my master's degree at Northwestern, but when I go to all these different games, I go as a college football journalist. And so I go in objective. I do my homework. I try to talk to the SID of the home team at least before I go up there. I certainly of course, you got to get a credential, but I let them know I'm coming and what I'm interested in. And, it's just being a professional, just like we've told William, your student there from Auburn, about being a professional and going in and knowing what you're going to cover. But again, anything can happen in a game, and
it can.
I just love it. And I always like to get there if I can. I always like to get there on either Thursday or Friday, so I can walk around campus. So I can go to the neighborhood barbecue joint or whatever is the ice cream place or whatever, or to the campus bookstore. The one mistake I made when I was at Tuscaloosa is I went to one of their 100 or so gift shops there on University Avenue, and I should have picked up the button. I should have picked up the button that you put on your shirt that said Nick Saban is sexy. I wish I'd have gotten that button.
Well, do y'all remember Brother Theodore used to come on the Letterman show?
Letterman show. Yeah.
He was pretty out there. I just found one of his rants. It kind of reminds me of some of the people getting frustrated with NIL and the portal and all the craziness. Here is a little rant from Brother Theodore.
Settle down the shoulders. Americans are different, not quite so emotional,
not part of people conscious, and that it's probably why it was suggested that I now select something which comes closer to your conception of sophisticated.
See, Brother Theodore was a guy that I think he actually was a fairly intelligent man. But, both of y'all, we know this much because you go on the campuses when you go visit as a fan. And, my role is like an advice aggregator or a quarterback as host of Sidelines. Bring on the best guests, get them on. I go to a lot of games all over the place. And, this weekend, it's going to be unbelievable. There's so many good games, but we say that every weekend, and that's a good thing. We got 10 minutes left. Both of y'all, it's so important that you never, ever discount your value. Somebody's 70, 80, 90, 100, you get one trip to the plate. Bo, you're teaching journalism. That is a craft that is so important that it's done right. Thank you a million times over for doing it. Every time y'all are on this show, now, Brother Stephen Schonhoff taught me word wealth at Christian Brothers. Let me tell you one thing. You learned how to use words in the English language. You learned what they meant, when to use them, when not to use them. Both of y'all, Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net, a couple of days ago, used the term metaphorically. I love some of the stuff that y'all say, but my dad always says there's nothing uglier than a half-finished painting. Okay? Is there anything worse than a half-ass written story, though, that's not, it's like a giant run-on sentence? Talk about the state of journalism, sports journalism today. Either one of y'all, have at it. Brother Theodore has said that Bo Carter is a genius of the English language. Tin caps, hook them horns. I don't know what he means. Letterman would just sit there and keep a straight face with that. I don't know how he did it, but Brother Theodore lives on forever. I wonder if he's still living. I don't know, but go ahead.
Two things. We talked to William Halliday about this one time. Please don't use new record. If it's a record, it's a new.
That's right.
Redundancy, Rob. You know that from your old Christian Brothers days.
And please don't say draw flag. The team has drawn first blood.
Drawn first blood.
That's
right. That's right. And the other one we emphasize every day in journalism class is the Tigers are playing their home game against. You don't say or Memphis is playing its. You don't say Memphis is playing their home game. Subject or adjective noun agreement, and boy, it's just, I swear, not just in athletics, but the parochial school nuns would hit us over the hand with a ruler if you used improper grammar. So that's that's just basics. Rob, you and Ken and I have talked. The big thing between the bloggers and the people that are actually schooled in journalism, like William Halliday, is that they do research and they know proper grammar, and they can put sentences together, use transition, everything else.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you both one, and it's still in effect. And we talked about this when I went up to Northwestern to get to do my 40-year walk back in June. There is a thing, and every Medill School of Journalism person knows exactly what this is, and it's called the Medill F. And it was in effect in 1982 and 83, and it's in effect today, that you could be Shakespeare and write the greatest story of all time. But if it has a factual, punctuation, or grammatical error in it, you get an automatic F. And that's devastating. In the old days, I love to tell this story. Now this would never fly, but back in the old days, you would write your story or type your story on an IBM Selectric typewriter, and you would turn it in. You would turn it into your professor, and then y'all are gonna love this. He would put it in a cardboard box out in front of his office at 7:00 in the morning the next day. Okay. And so I was always one of those guys that got there at 6:45 in the morning because I wanted to see what everybody else made. And he would do it with a red Sharpie. So you'd be flipping through your papers, right? And you know, F F F A B F F, and you know, now, you know, because now that would be a total violation of privacy and HIPAA or whatever else it is. But anyway, there were so many F's in there. But I'm telling you, we talked about, like I said, we talked about this back in June. The Medill F. I still live with the Medill F.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I've written stuff where I had an error in it, and the first thing I thought about it was, holy cow! I just gave myself a Medill F. But it teaches you not to make errors, you know. And I see so many errors now, and people just take it for granted. And you know, when I was you know, working full time as a journalist, I mean, all the time, you know, getting paid a lot of money to do it. You know, you make too many errors, you're going to get your ass fired.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and your credibility is going to suffer, and you're not going to get a job somewhere else. And it just, I mean, I'm not trying to sound like I'm back in my day, you know.
No,
like
you're right though.
But it's
You're
true.
correct.
I mean, I really get concerned that so many errors are made, so much rumor is reported as fact, and I still don't operate that way, nor will I.
No, you're making yourself or playing small to make other people around you less uncomfortable is a disservice to everyone. Always raise that bar. I had a man, I took a journalism class my first quarter at Auburn. His name was Jack Sims. Oh my God. If you were done, if you misspelled, I mean, it was over. Do it and do it right. And I still, to this day, you know, David Housel, Buddy Davidson. And I always mention Reba Gulledge because you know who Reba was? She was the secretary, the assistant that ran that office. First time, I met her in high school. Buddy Davidson brought me over. I was a junior down there for spring break. And she goes, "You're Rob Brown." I go, "Yes." She goes, "Rob Brown from Memphis." I go, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "Hold on a second." She reached in her drawer and she pulled out a Ziploc 1.5 2-quart bag of letters that I'd written from when I was old enough to write up to the moment. She goes, "Rob Brown, I love Auburn so much. I love Auburn so much. You don't even know. I love." And she goes, I get it. She goes, "Could I get a chin strap? Could I get a autograph from Terry Beasley, Pat Sullivan, Joe Cripps?" She goes, "Oh my God." She goes, "Sit down for a second." But here's the point. You got to get it right. And one of the coolest things I ever saw was, I think it was a Sunday afternoon when I was a freshman. I couldn't take much because in the press box, you couldn't cheer. And I wanted to be with all my pledge brothers over in the drunk tank, over in the corner. But Furman Bisher's in there with David Housel. If I remember correctly, he had a navy blue V-neck cardigan sweater, impeccably dressed, Chapel Hill grad, talking about, you know, stories and deals. And to hear those two go at it was just unreal. It's just like y'all two. But never, ever apologize for raising the bar. I mean, and I think what y'all are doing, what's that line in that song? Because I think what they're doing is well worth doing. If you don't like Hank Williams, you can kiss my ass. Well, if you're not into doing it right, you know, then don't write. 700 words. It may take 3 or 4,000 to get the story across. Investigative journalism. That's what y'all do. And we run out of time. And let me say, both of y'all, for most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Go bless others. We're all blessed more than we can imagine. Your kind words, your kind deeds go further than you can ever imagine. Surround yourself with, heard a great song from Gene Stallings one time, surround yourself in life with winners and get after it. Both of y'all let people know how they can follow you. And a great show. Thanks to all of our sponsors, listeners, people watching, comments, questions. We couldn't get to all of them, but we'll be back on tomorrow. We're blessed to have you, but y'all tag out and we'll go.
At Sports Page Dallas, at DFW, and also at Bo Carter 52 on X.
X,
and
yeah,
I'm
X,
right there.
I like that.
That's why I put mine on. Yeah, X. It's Twitter to me. It's still gonna. It's gonna be Twitter. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I put Twitter up there at Texas Six Man Ken and at FWAA, which is at Football Writers Association of America. Thanks so much. Thanks for having us, Rob. We really enjoyed being with you on Friday.
Thanks so much.
Hey, and thank you for your input with Dr. Hargrave, because I'm going to be talking to him, and we'll get y'all on with him again. But not many people would be kind enough to do it, and you certainly are. Hey, folks, have a great day. We are out of here.